Welcome to Shadows of the Heart, the podcast where we dive into the raw, unfiltered confessions of those grappling with life's darkest secrets. Today, we're joined by a woman we'll call Laura, who's here to share a story of addiction, deception, and the devastating fallout from a life spiraling out of control. Laura, thank you for being here. Let's start at the beginning. How did this addiction to sex first manifest in your life, and what triggered the start of your affairs?
It's hard to pinpoint exactly when it all started, but looking back, the seeds were there long before I acted on them. I've always had this intense, restless energy, a need for excitement that everyday life couldn't satisfy. But it truly manifested about 5 years ago, when I was 32. My husband David and I had been married for 8 years, living in a beautiful brownstone in Boston's Back Bay neighborhood. The streets were lined with historic buildings, and our home was filled with the warmth of family life. Sophie's toys scattered in the living room, the smell of David's coffee brewing every morning. Sophie was 4 then, a bundle of curls and curiosity, always asking why about everything. David worked long hours as a finance analyst at Apex Innovations, a prestigious firm downtown, and I was a graphic designer at a boutique agency, creating visuals for ad campaigns. Our life looked perfect from the outside. Weekend brunches at local cafes, holiday cards with matching outfits, intimate dinners where we'd talk about our dreams. But inside, I felt hollow. Sex with David had turned predictable, quick, under the covers after putting Sophie to bed. No real passion, just going through the motions. It left me yearning for something more, something that made me feel alive and desired. The real trigger came during a work conference in San Francisco. I'd flown out alone for a 3-day event on digital design trends. The city was alive with energy, the fog creeping over the Golden Gate Bridge, the salty breeze from the bay mixing with the aroma of fresh sourdough from street vendors. My hotel was upscale, with a sleek lobby and views of the twinkling skyline. On the second night, after a day of panels and networking, I headed to the bar downstairs. The room was dimly lit, with polished marble counters reflecting the soft glow of pendant lights, and a jazz band playing smooth melodies in the corner. That's where I met Ethan, a coworker from our Chicago branch. He was in his late 30s, tall with chiseled features, a confident smile, and eyes that locked onto mine like he saw right through me. We started talking about the conference, our drinks clinking, bourbon for him, a martini for me, the alcohol warming my veins and loosening my inhibitions. His hand brushed mine as he passed me a napkin, deliberate, sending a spark up my arm. The conversation turned flirty, his voice low and seductive, complimenting my presentation earlier that day. Before I knew it, we were in the elevator, the doors closing with a soft ding, heading to his room. The space was luxurious, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights, plush carpets underfoot, and a king-sized bed with crisp white sheets that smelled faintly of lavender detergent. He kissed me against the wall as soon as the door clicked shut, his lips firm and urgent, tasting of whiskey and mint. His hands roamed, peeling away my dress with skilled fingers, the cool air raising goosebumps on my school skin. We tumbled onto the bed, bodies entangling, his weight pressing me down, breaths coming in ragged gasps, the rhythm building to a fever pitch as the headboard thumped against the wall. It was raw, intense, nothing like the routine back home. I felt powerful, wanted, the pleasure crashing over me like waves. But as we lay there afterward, sweat cooling on our skin, the sheets tangled around us, the guilt hit like a freight train. What had I done? David was probably reading Sophie a bedtime story right then, tucking her in with her favorite stuffed bear. This was meant to be a one-time thing, a fleeting escape to fill the void in my marriage. I slipped out before dawn, the hotel hallway silent except for the hum of the vending machine. Flying home, staring out the plane window at the clouds below, I promised myself it was over. But the memory of that rush lingered, addictive, pulling me toward more. It was the beginning of a double life, where the lines between desire and destruction started to blur, setting off a chain of affairs that would unravel everything I held dear.
That conference encounter sounds like it unlocked a Pandora's box of emotions and actions. How did it evolve from that single fling into a pattern of multiple affairs? Can you walk us through the early stages of concealment and the progression to involving coworkers and strangers?
After San Francisco, the high from Ethan didn't fade. It amplified every dissatisfaction in my life. We texted for a while, flirty exchanges that made my phone buzz during mundane moments, like staff meetings or grocery shopping. But he was too far away for anything regular. So the void grew. I started noticing how unfulfilled I felt at home. David's touches felt obligatory, and I'd lie awake at night replaying that night in my mind, craving the adrenaline. That's when I downloaded the dating apps, discreet ones for casual connections. Late at night, with David snoring beside me, the bedroom dark except for the glow of my screen, I'd create profiles under aliases like City Explorer, swiping through profiles. The thrill of a match, the ping of a message, it was like a hit of something illicit, making my heart race. The first local affair was with Ryan, a 25-year-old barista I matched with. He had this youthful energy, tousled brown hair, and a grin that promised fun ways without strings. We met at a quiet coffee shop in Cambridge, the air thick with the scent of espresso and pastries, students typing away on laptops around us. Our conversation was light at first, but charged, his knee brushing mine under the table, eyes lingering. From there, we walked to his apartment above the shop, the stairs narrow and creaking, the space small and bohemian, with stacks of books, posters of indie bands, and the faint smell of incense burning. He poured cheap red wine into mismatched mugs, and we sat on his worn couch, talking, turning to touches. His hands were gentle, exploratory, sliding under my shirt, the fabric bunching as he pulled me closer. We moved to the bed, a futon really, the mattress sinking under us, kisses deepening, bodies aligning in urgent need, his skin warm and slightly rough from work. It was passionate, freeing. But as I orgasmed, a wave of emptiness followed. Dressing in the dim light, the city traffic humming outside, I felt the first real pang of repulsion. This wasn't love, it was escape, and it left me hollower. Concealment began innocently enough. I'd tell David I had late client meetings or errands after work, shifting my schedule to carve out hours. At first it was easy. Boston's bustle hit a lot, but as affairs multiplied it got more complex. Ryan became a semi-regular, quick meets in his place or my car and parking garages. Then came strangers from apps, one-night stands like a guy named Chris met at a bar in the financial district, leading to a hotel room where the anonymity fueled the fire. Workplace entered the mix with Marcus, my senior coworker, a married man in his 40s with a authoritative vibe. Flirtation started subtly, shared coffees in the break room, the scent of fresh brew mixing with his cologne, his compliments on my designs laced with double meaning. One extended scene that captures the progression. A late-night project crunch at the office. The building was mostly empty, fluorescent lights buzz, zing overhead, the city skyline twinkling through large windows. Marcus and I were in the conference room, papers spread out, but tension built. He closed the door, the click echoing, and pulled me into a kiss, his lips demanding, hands gripping my hips with a power that both attracted and intimidated me. We ended up on the table, documents scattering, his body over mine, the cool wood against my back as we moved frantically. It was seductive, his whispers of how he'd make work easier if I played along, a coercive edge promising lighter loads or better assignments. Emotionally, it was turmoil. The attraction to his dominance clashed with guilt over betraying David, repulsion at my own weakness. Post-act, fixing my clothes in the bathroom mirror, fluorescent light harsh on my flushed face, I questioned my identity. Who was this woman sneaking around? The long-term impact started showing. Exhaustion from juggling set in. My designs at work suffered. Ambitions for my own studio pushed aside. Family dynamics cooled. Dinners with Sophie and David felt forced, my mind elsewhere. Relationships with friends like Claire began fracturing as I canceled plans. The addiction was taking root. The allure of power and seduction balanced by growing shame.
The office scene introduces a layer of professional risk and coercion. As you juggled more partners, how did the emotional conflict, that push-pull of attraction and repulsion, intensify? Share a specific extended scene from one of your clandestine meetings that highlights this inner turmoil.
The juggling turned my life into a constant balancing act, with partners overlapping in ways that heightened everything. The thrill, the guilt, the exhaustion. Ryan for quick mornings before work, Marcus for stolen office moments, and app strangers like Tyler for evenings or weekends. Each one fed a different part of the addiction. Ryan's youth made me feel vibrant. Marcus's power gave a sense of control. Tyler's anonymity let me detach. But the emotional conflict grew fiercer. Attraction to the novelty and intensity repulsed me because it highlighted how far I'd fallen from the devoted wife and mother I once was. It was like being addicted to a poison that tasted sweet at first, but left me sick. A scene that really captures this was a weekend retreat I lied about to David, saying it was a girls' trip with Claire. Instead, I met Marcus at a secluded cabin in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. The drive up was scenic but tense. Winding roads through dense forests, the air fresh with pine and earth after a recent rain. Leaves rustling in the breeze as I gripped the wheel, second-guessing myself. The cabin was rustic yet cozy. Log walls, a stone fireplace crackling with fresh wood, quilts on the bed smelling of laundry soap, and a small kitchen where Marcus had stocked wine and food. He arrived shortly after, his SUV crunching on the gravel driveway, and greeted me with a bottle of Cabernet, pouring it into stemless glasses that clinked softly by the fire. The seduction started slow. We sat on the rug, flames dancing shadows on our faces, talking about work stresses, his hand resting on my knee, warm and insistent. He leaned in, kissing me deeply, tasting of wine and mint gum, his fingers tracing up my thigh under my skirt. Clothes came off deliberately, his shirt revealing a toned chest, my blouse unbuttoned with teasing slowness. On the rug, the heat from the fire warming our skin, he entered me with a groan, movements deliberate and commanding, our bodies sinking in a rhythm that built to ecstasy. His whispers were bold, seductive. You drive me crazy. Mixed with promises of helping my career, a coercive undertone that made it feel like a transaction. But midway, as pleasure peaked, turmoil crashed in. A vivid flash of Sophie's face, her laughter at home, David's trusting smile. Attraction turned to repulsion. I felt dirty, used. Yet couldn't stop, the addiction overriding everything. Tears slipped down my cheeks. He noticed, but misinterpreted, pulling me closer. Let go. This is us. Afterward, lying there entangled, the fire popping softly, I stared at the ceiling beams, guilt churning like acid. The sensory details, the crackle of logs, the scent of smoke and sweat amplified the conflict. I wanted to end it, but the pull was too strong. Back in Boston, the impact deepened. Physical exhaustion left me with dark circles, migraines throbbing during the day. At home, I snapped at Sophie over small things. Her wide eyes hurt. David noticed the distance, our conversations turning clipped. Work ambitions suffered. I skipped a networking event that could have led to freelance gigs. Too drained. Relationships fractured. Claire called less, sensing my lies. My self-perception shifted. No longer the ambitious designer building a future, but a fractured woman chasing highs. Trust in myself eroded. The power dynamics with Marcus tilted. He held sway at work, subtly threatening harder tasks if I pulled away. It was a toxic cycle, allure and shame intertwining, leading to more isolation and regret over lost dreams, like family trips or starting my own agency.
That retreat scene vividly illustrates the seductive yet destructive nature of the affair. With multiple partners, were there moments of near discovery that ramped up the stakes? How did those affect your concealment strategies and the long-term strain on your health and relationships?
Near discoveries were like landmines, exploding the adrenaline but also the fear, making the addiction even more compulsive because the risk added to the high. One early one was with Tyler, a app hookup, a marketing exec I met for lunch. We ended up in his car in a secluded park lot near the Charles River, windows fogging from our heat, the radio softly playing some pop song as his hands roamed. My phone was left in my bag, and David called twice. I rushed back after heart-pounding, lying about being stuck in traffic. He accepted it, but his tone was off, planting seeds of suspicion. Another close call amplified everything. During a family dinner at home, the table set with steaming pasta, garlic bread, and Sophie's chatter filling the air. Marcus texted explicitly, my phone vibrating in my pocket. I excused myself to the bathroom, the tile cold underfoot, mirror reflecting my flushed face as I replied quickly. David asked later about all these work emergencies, his eyes searching. It forced me to evolve concealment. Burner phones hidden in my car, cash for hotels to avoid credit trails, fake yoga classes or book club excuses. But the strain mounted. An extended scene of near discovery, a hotel tryst with Jake, another app stranger, in a midtown Boston spot. The lobby was elegant, marble floors echoing our steps, elevator dinging as we ascended to a room with a canopy bed, chandelier sparkling overhead, and fresh flowers scenting the air. He gifted me a necklace, simple silver chain with a pendant, cool metal against my skin as he clasped it, his fingers lingering on my neck, pulling me into a kiss that deepened. The seduction was bold, clothes discarded on the carpet, bodies on the silk sheets, his touch firm and exploratory, breaths mingling in moans. It was charged, his promises of discretion feeling coercive as he demanded photos afterward. But guilt peaked. Midway, I imagined David finding out, repulsion surging. Post, as I dressed, my phone buzzed with David's text about dinner. Weeks later, he found the hotel receipt in my purse, questioning it as a conference expense. I gaslit him, claiming a mix-up, but the trust crack widened. These moments heightened stakes, making health deteriorate. Insomnia left me tossing in bed, body aching from encounters, anxiety causing chest pains. Doctor visits for stress led to prescriptions, but I hid the root cause. Marriage grew distant, arguments over my moods escalated, intimacy rare and forced. Sophie sensed it, becoming clingy, her drawings showing sad faces. Friends like Claire distanced themselves, invitations declined as I flaked. Long-term, ambitions faded. I turned down a promotion at work, too distracted. Identity altered. I saw myself as a liar, addictive personality consuming the confident woman I was. Relationships fractured irreparably, power and seduction illusory, as partners' demands turned coercive, leaving regret over lost family unity and personal goals.
Those risks sound exhausting on every level. As the addiction deepened, how did it begin to erode your physical and mental health more profoundly? And what was a key moment of reflection that highlighted the repulsion?
The erosion was gradual but relentless, like sandpaper on my soul. Physically, the constant juggling left me depleted. Dark circles under my eyes, weight dropping from skipped meals, migraines that pounded like hammers during the day. I'd pop painkillers in the office bathroom, the fluorescent lights buzzing, water from the faucet tasting metallic as I swallowed them down. Mentally, anxiety spiked, paranoia about discovery, guilt manifesting as nightmares where David found out, waking me in sweats. I started therapy secretly, but lied even there at first, the addiction's grip too tight. A key reflection moment came after a frantic tryst with Ryan. His apartment was humid that afternoon, the AC broken, sweat beading on our skin as we collided on the couch, cushions sinking, his hands gripping my hips with urgency. The sex was intense, but mechanical. Post-climax, I dressed quickly, the room smelling of us. Driving home, traffic crawling on the expressway, I pulled over to a rest stop, the lot empty under gray skies. Staring in the rearview mirror, my reflection showed a stranger. Disheveled hair, smudged makeup, eyes hollow. Tears streamed as repulsion hit full force. How had I become this? Attraction to the highs felt like a curse, the cycle of lust and shame spiraling. It highlighted the long-term toll. Marriage cold, David's hugs repelling me because they reminded me of my betrayal. Sophie asked why I was always tired, her innocence piercing. Work ambitions? Gone. I neglected my portfolio, missing deadlines, dreams of independent design work buried. Friends like Claire confronted my changes, but I pushed them away. Isolation growing. Self-perception? No longer trustworthy. Identity as a mother and wife fractured. The power dynamics with partners shifted, coercive. They demanded more time, threatening exposure subtly, balancing the bold seduction with fear. Regret deepened over lost dreams, like a family vacation to Europe we'd planned but excelled amid my busyness. The addiction wasn't empowering, it was consuming, leaving emptiness.
The mirror reflection is a powerful symbol of self-confrontation. When affairs overlapped in a single day or week, how did that increase the chaos? And describe an extended scene from such a period.
Overlaps were the peak of chaos, days blending into a blur of deception and depletion. One week, it was Marcus in the morning at work, a quickie in his office, blinds drawn, desk cluttered with files, the scent of coffee lingering as we hurried. Then Ryan in the afternoon, his cafe meet turning to a motel, room stale with cigarette ghosts, passion raw but empty. Evenings might bring a new app match like Ben, escalating the frenzy. An extended scene from a chaotic day. Started with Marcus calling me into a meeting room at the agency, glass walls frosted for privacy, the hum of computers outside. He locked the door, pulling me close, his kiss demanding, hands unbuttoning my blouse as papers scattered. Sex on the conference table was urgent, his body heavy, breaths hot, seductive power in his control, promising easier reviews. Guilt flickered but was drowned by the rush. Afternoon. Ryan at a park bench in the Boston Common, leaves falling in autumn wind, birds chirping as we walked to a nearby inn. The room was quaint, wooden beams, quilted bed. He undressed me slowly, fingers tracing, lips on my skin tasting salty. It was gentler, but midway, exhaustion hit, repulsion at the repetition. Evening, Ben from the app, met at a dimly lit bar in the seaport, music thumping, cocktails burning my throat. To his loft, exposed brick walls, modern art lit by soft lamps, the space smelling of leather and cologne. Seduction bold. He pushed me against the wall, clothes ripping slightly, wine spilling on the floor as we moved to the sofa. Coercive edge in his demands for more next time. Texts obsessive later. Emotional chaos, attraction blurred with self-loathing, thinking of Sophie during. I missed her school recital that night, lying to David about traffic. Toll. Physical shake from no sleep, mental fog. Marriage strained, David's suspicion grew. Long-term, relationships broke, Claire ghosted after a canceled lunch. Ambitions stalled, design project failed. Identity. CE, chaotic addict. Regret over fractured family life mounting.
The overlapping days sounds utterly draining. How did your concealment strategies evolve as the web of lies grew? And what was a pivotal moment of regret involving your family?
Concealment evolved from simple excuses to elaborate systems. A burner phone in my glove compartment, apps deleted and reinstalled daily, cash withdrawals for trysts to avoid traces. I'd fabricate emails about business trips, even forging itineraries. But lies piled up, making me paranoid, checking reflections for marks, spraying perfume to mask scents. Pivotal regret. Sophie's 6th birthday party in our backyard. Balloons bobbed in the breeze, the air sweet with cake and grill smoke, kids laughing as they played games. I snuck texts to Tyler under the table, heart racing. Guilt churning as Sophie blew out candles, her face lit by flames. Later, alone in the kitchen cleaning dishes, water running hot, clinking plates, I broke down sobbing. Reflection on the window showed a weary woman, regret overwhelming for missing her joy, prioritizing highs. Impact. Family dynamics toxic. Sophie asking, "Why are you sad, Mommy?" Marriage distant. Arguments frequent. Plus health. Anxiety attacks increased. Friends withdrew. Ambitions like a solo exhibit abandoned. Self. Empty shell. Trust gone. The cycle's chaos left everything in ruins.
The birthday scene is heartbreaking. As the toll mounted, were there attempts to end the addiction? And what pulled you back each time?
Attempts came in waves of desperation. Deleting apps, blocking numbers, vowing to focus on family. One time, after a near miss with David finding a text, I went cold turkey for 2 weeks. Throwing myself into therapy sessions in a downtown office, the couch worn, air-conditioned, cool as I confessed, partially. But pull back was the craving. The void without the rush felt unbearable. Marcus coerced with one last time. A hotel meet where champagne bubbled, room luxurious, sex intense on satin sheets. His promises of discretion mixed with threats of work sabotage. Emotional conflict. Attraction to escape, repulsion at weakness. Long-term, marriage on brink. Sophie anxious from tension. Ambitions nil. I quit a side gig. Identity lost in addiction.
The relapse sounds vicious. Describe a scene where the affair's impact profoundly affected your family dynamics during a supposed normal event.
Profound impact during a family vacation attempt to Cape Cod. The beach house was charming. Waves crashing outside, salt air filling rooms, seagulls crying. But I snuck out for a local app hookup. Sand under feet in dunes, sex hurried under stars, his touch rough. Back, David confronted my absence, voice rising in the living room, wood floors creaking. Sophie cried upstairs, "Why are you fighting?" Guilt crushed me. Family breaking before my eyes. Reflection. Lost dreams of unity, relationships shattered. Health declined further, regret eternal.
The beach betrayal is poignant. How did this contribute to the overall unraveling of your secret life?
It accelerated the unraveling. Lies became unsustainable. David found the burner phone hidden in my drawer, messages explicit from multiple partners. Confrontation in our living room, lamps casting shadows, voices echoing as he demanded truth. I broke, confessing parts, tears flowing. Affairs ended abruptly, but damage lingered. Health breakdown with therapy intensive, marriage cold leading to separation talks, friends judgmental, family splintered.
The confrontation must have been a turning point. What were the immediate and long-term effects post-unraveling?
Immediate, isolation, David sleeping on couch, Sophie confused. Long-term, separation, custody arrangements, painful. Job performance tanked, leading to layoff. Emptiness filled me. No high could fix the void. Regret over broken trust, lost ambitions.
The void sounds profound. Can you describe another scene where the coercive nature of one affair became particularly evident?
With Ben. His loft after a bar meet, demands for exclusivity, threatening to message David if I stopped. Sex felt forced, his grip bruising, room spinning. Guilt immense post, sobbing in car. Impact, self-loathing deepened, power dynamics exposed as abusive.
Threats add a darker layer. When did the emotional chaos reach its peak?
Peak after a string of overlaps, alone on a park bench at dusk, rain falling cold, wind whispering through trees. Sobbing, chaos of lies collapsing in my mind, regret for everything lost, family, friends, self. Emptiness overwhelming, addiction's illusion shattered.
The isolation is clear. Was there a moment of near total exposure that forced change?
Near total. David saw an email from Marcus on my laptop, explicit. Fight epic in kitchen, pots clanging as he yelled, Sophie hearing from her room. I confessed more, regret flooding, everything at risk, change forced through pain.
That fight sounds devastating. How has it affected your long-term relationships with family and friends?
Fractured beyond repair. David and I in therapy, but distant. Friends like Claire, judgmental and gone. Sophie shuttles homes, her trust wary. Self-view empty. Broken from choices.
Splintered relationships are sad. Walk us through the final breakdown of the family unit.
Breakdown culminated when David moved out, packing boxes in silence, home echoing empty. Custody battles in court, sterile rooms, lawyers droning. Kids confused, me alone with regret. Dreams of stable home shattered. Addiction's cost irreversible.
Custody is heart-wrenching. Did the affairs continue even after the breakdown?
Sporadically, in moments of despair, seeking numb escape, but therapy halted it, forcing confrontation with emptiness.
Therapy offers some hope. What is your current state and the dilemma you face now?
As of July 19, 2025, I'm in intensive therapy. Family in pieces. Sophie with David halftime. Marriage dissolved. The addiction left a deep emptiness, no pleasure filling the void. Guilt consumes me. I regret the destruction of trust, lost ambitions like my design career. Yet, the dilemma haunts. Expose the full extent to David for true honesty, risking losing Sophie forever. Or hide remaining details, continue therapy for personal gain and stability. Fear paralyzes. Conflict rages inside. What have I done? The broken body, fractured relationships, it's all so empty.